So as you're no doubt aware, I've started working my way through the Bible. I started on the King James Version because that's the version that the fundies read, and I wanted to see if I can get inside their heads enough to understand what the hell they're on about. Uh-huh. Like that's gonna happen. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I hear the word Genesis, the first thing that goes through my head is either Phil Collins, Sega, or, well, Rafa Khan. But it's in reference to the first book of the Bible. Well, let's examine a passage or two, shall we? But first, a technical question. Why the frick aren't there any quotation marks around dialogue in the Bible? What's that about? So the first quotation I have to ask about is Genesis 1:28. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it. This is the first time the word bless is mentioned, and I'm sitting here thinking, what does that really mean anyway? I mean, I bless you, great, okay, but what does that do? I mean, maybe it's the nerd in me, but I'm picturing a +1 to all your saving throws. On to chapter 2, verse 2. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he has made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he has made. Leaving aside he has made being said twice, why the frick does an all-powerful deity need to rest? Does he really get tired? Really? He's all-powerful. You'd think he'd always have his wind, you know? Let's run right past 127, where God creates man, and then in 2:5 and 2:7, he creates him again from dust. You know, a lot of Bible scholars just say they're telling the same story from different perspectives, but whatever. So, in chapter 2, verses 11 to 14, they explain that Eden is near the Euphrates River, near Assyria. I'm sitting there thinking, oh, well, in Ethiopia, in fact. And I'm sitting there thinking, really? I mean, as someone who's never read the Bible before, I always thought Eden was like in some interdimensional portal, like it was, I don't know, part of heaven or something. And when God kicked them out, he kicked them out to Earth. I had no idea the Garden of Eden was supposed to be on Earth. Who knew? Now on to chapter 3. In chapter 3, they talk about the whole fig leaves thing, where they put fig leaves on themselves, and it says they make aprons. I mean, in every version of this that we've ever seen depicted in, like, painting form or something, they're always like, you know, a fig leaf down here, maybe one or two here. You know what I'm saying? It's like you got fig leaves that cover the naughty bits. But in here, they're talking about making full-on outfits, like a fucking toga made out of leaves. I mean, okay, there's artistic license and all, but fuck, this goes beyond. Here's another question for you. One that's just about everything in here. Start with the word and. Explain that one to me. Now on to chapter 5. Chapter 5, verse 4 says that Adam lives 800 frickin' years. 800 years. Okay. Explain that one. I mean, okay, I've heard the explanation that the fundies try to give, that there was some firmament around the earth that kept out the UV radiation, and so people lasted a lot longer, but come on. It occurs to me at this point that reading the Bible is kind of like watching Platoon or Deliverance. You hear about it all the time, you hear about how much it freaked people out, and then you go and watch the movies and you're like, this is what made everyone have a Wiggins? Really? This? I'm sorry, but this book is not very good. And it's just, how do people put so much stock in it? I do not understand. I really don't. Now, here we are, and this is page 3. Page 3, and we're already on Noah and the Ark. I fully expected there to be so much more before Noah, and he only gets like a couple of paragraphs here. And I'm sitting there thinking, really? Really, this is where they make whole movies about this shit that last like 2 hours? How much padding did they give? What the hell, man? And people put so much stock in these stories, and it's just a couple of lines. Boggles my mind. Seriously, I don't get it. So we're talking chapter 7, verse 8. And it's going on about clean animals and unclean animals without any explanation about what the hell that means. And I understand it's explained later, but you'd think it'd be at the beginning of the book. Just saying. So we've got chapter 15, verse 4 here. And it says, And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I know what they're saying. I know they're saying, come out of your innards, you know? I know they're saying that which is born of your body or whatever. But it sure sounds like he's going to shit the kid out of his ass. You know what I'm saying? I mean, chapter 16, verse 7, the first mention of angels. No explanation of what the frickin' angel is, but first mention of them. Okay, chapter 17, verses 10 through 11, and they're talking about circumcision. And, I mean, the way God goes on about circumcision, it sounds like a gang sign or something, like you're wearing your colors, you know? Except apparently it's more of a secret handshake because you always got them stashed in your shorts. But still, I mean, we're talking about people chopping off bits of their body, specifically to say, hey, look, I'm in the God Club. I don't know how many guys are going to agree to that shit. Every guy I know is so protective of his junk. Okay, chapter 18, verse 4. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourself under the tree. Okay, again, God's supposed to be resting, and apparently his feet are filthy. He's God. I mean, if the guy actually existed, you'd think he'd be pretty darn clean and full of pep. So now we're on to chapter 18. And it has to be read to be believed. God, the frickin' child, actually has an argument, a yahan, kind of fight with Sarah, okay? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed I will return unto thee, according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. Yaha. God is such a child. So chapter 19, verse 14. Apparently Lot's daughters are already married. I thought that they were supposed to be virgins. What the hell? And where are their husbands when they decide to boink dear old dad? 1926 is where Lot's wife gets turned into a pillar of salt, which I've never understood. I mean, number one, why a pillar of salt? Number two, so she looked back. Big deal. That warrants what essentially amounts to a death penalty? Explain it to me. I don't get it. Now we go on to chapter 29, where I'm sorry, Jacob's story reads like a bad soap opera. It's not interesting, it's not entertaining, and it's not informative in the least. Chapter 31, verse 46. And Jacob said unto his brethren, Gather stones. And they took stones, and made a heap, and they did eat there upon the heap. So, that has no significance to the story whatsoever. They just build a pile of rocks and then have lunch on it. This is full of such weirdly just random crap. It's like some sort of, I don't know, religious Tourette's. And then we get to 35:2, where Jacob is told to put away strange gods. So apparently Yahweh, not the only God. Now 39:6 through 10 is just really strange. I mean, apparently God doesn't like one of these two brothers, so he kills the guy, then makes the other brother marry his wife. But the guy says, I'm not coming in that strange bitch. And so God kills him too. And it's just like, what the hell? I mean, bad soap opera again. 90210's got nothing on the frickin' Bible. One other thing I notice is when it talks about who's having kids, it seems like everybody has sons. There's only a couple of times where they mention that someone bore someone else a daughter. Sexist much. Man, if this is representative of what the whole Bible is going to be like, I'm not sure I'm making it the whole way through. So, that's Genesis for you. I guess we're on to Exodus next.